Hi again, everybody. So, we're here this evening and we're going to continue our work looking at beliefs. Hopefully, you found the information so far today useful. I personally found the Louise Hay work quite transformational the first time I did it, and this is why I stand over it. I've done a lot of different training since then, but for this type of work, on a personal level, I found it to be hugely helpful and hugely insightful, and it opened the door for me on a lot of other work that I've done in my life and that I've done with others. What I would say is that when we're looking at beliefs and with some of the work that we're going to do now, again, all you need is a pen and paper. Um, some of the beliefs that we have been so embedded, I suppose, and just have seemed to have been there for forever. That some of them really, for me personally, didn't come to the surface until I did some deeper work on myself. So I've done different types of therapies, like hypnotherapy, different types of treatments. Like lately, I've done a therapy called rapid transformation therapy, with a lady called Kira McGurskin, and I've just found it to be absolutely amazing. It's intense. Um, so there's lots of other work I've done, with different therapists and that over the years. So like I said, personally, I'm driven from within to always, find more peace. I always think there's more peace and there's more freedom to be had. Um, in my view, we have a small self and we have a bigger self, and the small self can be driven by our ego. So that little voice in the head, the chatter that we spoke about last time, and can be quite limited in its view and can be quite fearful and you know um anxious maybe. And then there's a bigger self that, for me, as I spoke about my connection to some kind of a spiritual life. So there's a bigger self that goes beyond those little thoughts that we have about, self preservation and, each man out for himself. And, the fight or flight response can come from those ego based kind of thoughts as well. And all that, like, there's so much work and learning and different therapies out there. But for me, I'm all about trying to feed the bigger self, um, and put this little self to bed sometimes to rest, and allow the bigger self to step in and do and lead, take the lead, and help me to live a fulfilling life. So that's why I do all this work on myself that I do. And if people, I'm all about change. So if people are out there listening to this thinking, well, doesn't really appeal to me, then that's fine. You know what I mean? This is really all about change. And for people who've identified and maybe had that nagging feeling inside in our gut, or just something that we've been putting off looking at, or we know we'd like to do differently. And that's who I'm here to communicate with. So we'll continue on, and going back to our lovely Louise Hay, page 42. I'm just going to read a passage here before I give you your instructions for your next exercise. It's called mental house cleaning. So now is the time to examine our past a bit more, to take a look at some of the beliefs that have been running us. Some people find this part of the cleansing process very painful, but it need not be. We must look at what is there before we can clean it out. If you want to clean a room thoroughly, you will pick up and examine everything in it. Some things you will look at with love, and you will dust them or polish them to give them new beauty. Some things you will see that need refinishing or repair, and you will make note and you will do that. Some things will never serve you again, and it becomes time to let those things go. Old magazines and newspapers, dirty paper plates can be dropped into the wastebasket very calmly. There is no need to get angry to clean a room. It is the same thing when we are cleaning our mental house. There is no need to get angry just because some of the beliefs in it are ready to be tossed out. Let them go as easily as you would scrape bits of food into the trash after a meal. Would you really dig into yesterday's garbage to make tonight's meal? Do you dig into old mental garbage to create tomorrow's experiences? If a thought or belief does not serve you, let it go. There is no written law that says because you once believed something, you have to continue to believe it forever. And I love that. So let's look at some limiting beliefs and where they come from. So what I've done at different times is I've literally got a sheet of paper. So, maybe take a blank sheet of paper and just start with maybe an area that's not causing you so much trouble. Like at the moment, I don't know, like finances are probably a hot topic for people who are not working. Food, health, relationships, family, self-love, and just get a sheet of paper and write down just everything that comes to mind. So what do I think about money? What are my thoughts about money? And it does take a little bit of concentration. So you might start with, it might feel a bit odd, I go, okay, money, I don't have any thoughts about money. I feel very neutral about money. And ask yourself, okay, well, why is that? Well, you might explore that a bit further and realize you have a belief that, well, money, it's always there when I need it, I've never been strapped for cash or whatever it is, and you can write down everything. Or money could be very, a tricky area for you. You may or may not want to start there, but just pick a topic. So money, relationships, family, myself, as I said, self-care, food. A lot of people have quite complicated relationships with food and body image. So just take a sheet of paper, start writing it down. Okay, and if you can't, it's not about uncovering beliefs that you don't know you have, because it will keep it simple, and just write down, what are my thoughts about money? What opinions do I have about self-love? Or take a topic, as I said, any topic. And write down everything that comes to mind. And then I would say get a different color pen if you can, and just put a tick beside those beliefs that seem to be positive and those that seem to be negative, or that sound negative. And at this point, it's not about judging and going, oh my God, I didn't even know I thought that. Like, that's terrible. Just doesn't matter. No judgment. Just get it all out on paper. And then you can just start looking at the sheet and say, okay, God, I didn't realize I thought that. Would it be worth looking at trying to release that and replace it with something new? And this is where affirmations would come in then, So affirmations of themselves are great, but we're bombarded in social media with a lot of affirmations, but the work has to happen before you just use an affirmation, in my experience. And I'm just sharing my experience because that's what we're doing here in the Wellness Lounge. You kind of have to understand, what am I using this for? Is there a situation in my life that causes me to feel a little bit anxious? And let's just say money. I worked around this myself, around the supply, around, abundance. There's a lot of talk about that out there as well. But it's not just about talking the talk, it's walking the walk, So it's at times where I don't know where my next contract is going to come from, for example. Can I still affirm that money is always there for me when I need it? And do I really, now at this point, do I believe that? And Gillian will talk about affirmations tomorrow. When you start them, it probably feels like you're just talking a load of rubbish to yourself, depending on how ingrained the belief is that you're trying to release. So that's the exercise for today. It's really to get that piece of paper, take a topic, and you could start with something that's easy, or if you wanted to challenge yourself, you could start with something that's really troubling you at the moment. Money, my job, my family relationships, my health, intimate relationships, whatever, mother, daughter, father, son, personal, any kind of relationship, money, as I said, food, and just write down, what do I think? And then it's really interesting when you take that up and look at it and go, Okay, after you've done that, and ask, how long has this been here? How long have I been thinking this? And where did it come from? That's another, and again, with that gentle curiosity, I wonder why I think that. Like as I said earlier in a previous video, I had a belief that life is hard. And I had to look at that and go, why do I think that? Nobody ever set me down and repeatedly, brainwashed me and said, Denise, you have to believe life is hard. But I suppose we take on a lot of these beliefs before we're even consciously aware of them, so I would have seen my parents were hardworking. I had a tendency to take on shoulder a lot of responsibility myself in life for things that really weren't my responsibility. I learned that later on in life. I'm still taking lessons from that at the moment. So where do the beliefs come from is interesting, and again, just to go, I wonder why I would think that. And is there anything in my family life that would have suggested that? How, as a child, how would I have interpreted what I saw? Is it possible that I formed some of these beliefs when I was a child? And if they were formed when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, would it be safe to say that I could replace them now with something else? And that they did serve me well at a certain point, but it's okay now to release them. And like we said earlier, it's safe for me to look within, and it's safe for me to investigate this kind of stuff. And remember, the aim of the game is more freedom, and more happiness. This is why we're doing this work. More freedom, more happiness. So let me know how you get on. It's a very simple but very effective exercise. And as Louise says, there's no need to get angry. It can be done very gently and respectfully to ourselves, and again, as I said earlier in one of my earlier posts, this is not an exercise in self-criticism. This is an exercise in self-love. So we do it in a supportive way, and we kind of go, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know I thought that. Or, wow, I have been aware I think this, and I don't even know why I think this. But you know what? I think it's time to look at letting that go. So good luck with it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And well done. For those of you that are persevering with this work, well done, and it won't be time wasted. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.